This winter, the local news focused quite often on some homes in some of the towns on the South Shore or Plum Island that were about to go right into the sea. I remember one, a week or so, or maybe a couple of days before the storm, they were frantically moving houses from one street, and fairly new houses. That image might help us to appreciate what Jesus was saying in this very final section of the Sermon on the Mount. He had given the core of his teaching. Blessed are the merciful, or treat others as you want to be treated. Be salt and light. And now he uses an image from construction. Build your house on rock. If you build it on the sand, when the storms come and the winds blow, the house could be destroyed. In a sense, what Jesus is saying is we are the building, and we need to look at the foundations in our lives. And unlike construction, we can change and modify the foundations of our spiritual lives over and over again. At the end of the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus is saying, you have to do more than just simply pay lip service. You can't just say, Lord, Lord. You have to be not only hearers of the word, but doers of the word. We have to put our faith into action. This Wednesday, we begin our annual Lenten journey, a time that invites us all to look at the foundations of our lives and see where they have maybe shifted and need to be corrected over this annual retreat that we call Lent. In a very traditional way, based on the gospel that's read on Ash Wednesday, Lent is like a three-legged stool. It has three different components: prayer, works of charity, and acts of penance. Perhaps over the next couple of days before Lent begins, you and I can spend some time thinking about those three things: prayer, works of charity, and acts of penance, and how we might incorporate that into the weeks of Lent. Prayer. Daily Mass would be great if possible, and if our 8:30 Mass in the morning is not convenient, there are several other times in area parishes, and that information can be found in an insert in the bulletin and will be present on the back cover or the front cover of the bulletin for the month of March at least. You'll find there certain devotions, Stations of the Cross, or talks, or things that might be of a possible input into our own prayer life. Or works of charity. Maybe we need to look at ourselves and say, how is it that I can maybe begin or even increase my attention to the needs of others? Might just be someone in the neighborhood, might be a family member, maybe it would be working in the food pantry here on Wednesdays, or at the thrift shop during the week. Finally, there's penance, acts of mortification that kind of remind us who's in control, me or the thing, the element. But it has to be something real. I may have mentioned in the past a priest friend of mine who one Lent very seriously declared that he was giving up martinis and Manhattans. But I knew that he was a Jameson drinker. Doesn't make much sense. And the personal Lenten program that we develop should be reasonable and doable. It makes no sense, to me at least, to say at the beginning of Lent, I'm going to fast completely for X number of days a week. And you know you're not going to do it. And the first time you fail, you say, oh well, maybe next Lent. So it should be something that's reasonable and doable. It's not reasonable to say that I'm going to spend 5 hours a day in prayer. 5 minutes might be good. It could be something that on the way out of church today, you pick up this little booklet. Bishop Morneau from Green Bay, I think, has a reflection for every day. It would only take a few minutes to read that, in addition to whatever else you might do in your own prayer life. But it will be a focus for our own reflection and looking at our own foundation. Lent begins this Wednesday. And perhaps we can say a prayer today that all of us will make this journey a fruitful and helpful one in becoming disciples of the Lord.